So today we'll be discussing about voluntary and involuntary actions. So voluntary actions are performed, इन actions को हम करते हैं by conscious directions of brain, and these are performed by unconscious directions of brain. Unconscious directions of brain and voluntary actions में usually वो activities आती हैं, वो actions आती हैं which are usually performed by the will of our brain. Like usually when a person tries to walk, so walking, it's included in voluntary action. So it is by the will, by the arbitrary action of human being. Dancing, like picking a pen from the table. So usually this picking up this marker from the table, this I am doing by my action of brain, by the will of my brain. It may or may not depend on my will. Like if I will try to pick a pen, so it depends on my brain's response. Then if so this picking a pen or doing all the normal activities and walking, dancing, which includes everything, reading, studying, so these are they are performed under the this conscious part of the brain. Therefore they are called voluntary actions. So involuntary actions are usually, these are performed by unconscious directions of brain. So involuntary actions of nervous tissue, जो involuntary actions हैं nervous tissue के, they are performed under unconscious directions of brain or performed under unconscious action of brain. Usually these are performed by unconscious actions of brain for controlling and coordinating the functions of internal organs, just in order to control the functions of our organs. So इनको हम involuntary actions कहते हैं. इसमें usually some examples इसमें भी लेंगे हम, like breathing. So इसको हम stop तो नहीं कर सकते, so we will die. Like beating of heart, so heartbeat. Like sometimes we withdraw our hand when we touch accidentally, when we touch some hot object. So withdrawing that hand is also the example of involuntary action. Like when sometimes some bright light, it's flashed on our eyes and our eyes, so उस टाइम क्या करते हैं, हमारे eyes भी अपना reflex action दिखाती हैं. So reflexes, eye reflex etc. So इसी का एक टॉपिक है, that's called reflex action. इसका एक पार्ट है involuntary action का, that's called reflex action. So reflex action is usually an immediate or involuntary response by the spinal cord and in the reflex action to an harmful stimuli, and in this brain is not included in the reflex action. It's very important. In the reflex action usually brain is not used, it's not involved, and there is only the role of our spinal cord. So reflex action is simply, it is the immediate, or we can say involuntary action or response. तो यूजुअली क्या है, इनवॉलंटरी और इमीडिएट रेस्पॉन्स है जब भी कोई हार्मफुल स्टिमुलाई हमें सिग्नल होगी. टू ए हार्मफुल स्टिमुलाई मीन्स कोई एक्सटर्नल सिग्नल जो भी विच इज़ हार्मफुल, जो भी एक्सटर्नल सिग्नल कोई हार्मफुल होगी हमारी बॉडी के लिए, हमारे ऑर्गन्स के लिए, हमारे ऑर्गन्स और इफेक्ट ऑर्गन्स के लिए, उस टाइम रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन होगा. सो रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन इज, इट्स नॉट अंडर द विल ऑफ आवर ब्रेन, it's usually, here is the role of spinal cord. यहाँ पे spinal cord का रोल है. Here is no action of brain. यहाँ पे कोई brain का कोई रोल नहीं है. So this is usually it's called reflex action. So in the reflex action, we usually see we close eyes when bright light is flashed on our. So that is the example of reflex action. So closing eyes when bright light is flickered or flashed on them. Sometimes that knee jerk. तो खेलते समय और कोई भी काम करते समय when we feel some pain in our knees, so knees में अजीब सी वो pain की कैफियत हो जाती है, तो उस टाइम knee jerk में भी एक reflex action होता है. Pain in our knees when we sometimes do work or heavy work. So these are the best examples, and one of the most best example is that when we withdraw our hand, when we are get our foot, when we get pricked by some sharp or pointed object or some hot, when we touch some accidentally. This first example, this is second, third one, withdrawing our respective effector organ, usually hand or foot, when pricked by a sharp or pointed, usually needle, or when we get in contact or in a touch with the hot objects. Because there are receptors, thermoreceptors in our skin, they will sense this hot object or this pointed object, and they will send the message through sensory neuron up to the brain. So इसमें एक example लेंगे हम इस why the brain is not involved, because it's time consuming then. For example, if some person is pricked by some needle, तो जब needle इसमें prick होगी ना, ये person क्या करेगा ना, इसकी sensory neurons पहले जाएंगी brain की ओर, brain वहाँ से motor neurons की ज़रिए ये information, it will bring the information through this motor neurons, और उसके बाद motor neuron, तो तब तक तो बहुत कुछ हुआ होगा. ये जो needle है ये तो इसके आर पार जाएगी. Now simply इस ब्रेन को यूज़ करने के बगैर ही हमारा स्पाइनल कार्ड ये असिस्टेंस करता है इस मैसेज को, इस रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन को. देयरफॉर इट्स वेरी क्विक, अदरवाइज ब्रेन शुड हैव बीन इन्वॉल्व. तो ब्रेन हम इसलिए इन्वॉल्व नहीं करते बिकॉज ब्रेन विल टेक लॉट ऑफ द टाइम. देयरफॉर यूजुअली ये बोला जाता है ट्रिकी क्वेश्चन, व्हाई ब्रेन इज नॉट इन्वॉल्व्ड ड्यूरिंग अ रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन, सिंपली बिकॉज इफ ब्रेन वर इन्वॉल्व्ड देन द प्रोसेस वुड हैव बीन लिटिल कम्बरसम और लिटिल स्लोअर. तो उसमें प्रॉब्लम होगी. अगर प्रोसेस बहुत स्लो होगी तो तब तक तो इंसान का काम तमाम हुआ होगा. So therefore brain is not involved. Now coming to the diagrammatic representation of our reflex action, जिसमें हम reflex arc भी सीखेंगे. तो इसकी diagrammatic representation क्या है? तो diagram of reflex action, इसकी diagram हम बनाएंगे, reflex action की हम diagram बनाएंगे, और we will see how this reflex arc इसमें कैसे आएगी. ठीक. Sorry. Are effector organs. So these are our receptors for audience जिनको पता नहीं, these are sensory, these are our receptors. ना उसके बाद receptor के बाद क्या है, उसके बाद sensory neurons आएंगे. क्या आएंगी? Sensory. तो these are our sensory neurons. तो receptor ने usually कुछ sense किया होगा, usually suppose some hot cup of water or coffee. ना इस receptor ने ये sense किया, so अब reflex action होना चाहिए because it's very quick. Now brain तो involved नहीं होगा, therefore we will use spinal cord, and this is the middle receptor which is called relay neuron. Relay neuron or interneuron. Inter and neuron. Now this is our motor neuron, because as we know this relay neuron, it's used to carry information, to carry the signal, to carry the impulse from sensory neuron to motor neuron, and in between spinal cord is used. Now after this, these are effector muscle cells. Effector cells are organs or muscle cells. So this is the basic structure of our basic diagram of our reflex action, in which we have seen that the impulse one is generated from this receptor and it sends through this sensory neuron. उसके बाद spinal cord में इसको जल्दी जल्दी assist करेगा spinal cord without using brain. So therefore इसका बहुत use है. Therefore it's asked in the question. Usually the question is asked in reflex action. The use of spinal cord, second brain भी होगा. So you just point out spinal cord because brain में it's cumbersome task, then it will take some time. लेकिन reflex action is very quick, it's very quick और immediate action. तो इसमें brain की जगह हम जल्दी जल्दी spinal cord use करते हैं. उसके बाद relay neuron they send this message information from sensory neuron to motor neuron. उसके बाद effector organs are those organs which are usually which has censored something. तो यही effect on muscle cells are like for this is my hand and इनमें भी muscle cells होते हैं. These muscle cells will sense the stimuli and they will give some response to this. तो ये है this the diagram representation. and इस diagram में usually हम एक और एक path पढ़ते हैं, एक arc पढ़ते हैं, that's called reflex arc. तो reflex arc is usually is the path traveled by this impulse during a reflex action. So ये एक path है, a path traveled by impulse during a reflex. इस रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन के टाइम पे जो पाथ यहाँ से ट्रेवल की किसने, एक इम्पल्स ने जो जनरेट हो गई बाय सेंसरी न्यूरॉन्स, तो उसको हम कहते हैं रिफ्लेक्स आर्क. सो दिस इज द बेसिक डिफरेंस एंड दिस इज ऑल फॉर टुडे. मिलते हैं कल, ठीक है.